Welcome to Mindfulness Manufacturing. My name is Trevor Blondeel. Spending 25 years in manufacturing, I discovered the real impact we have on turnover, communication, and the ability to manage change is how we show up. That's the essence of emotional intelligence. In each episode, we bring a guest or message to expand your skills, engage your people, and grow your organization. So let's jump in. This is part 2 of what a 40-year farming relationship can share with the manufacturing nation. And if you missed the last episode, 66, head on back and listen to that one first and enjoy.
I had freedom. Like he had faith in me, I went and bought things with, I charged it. I didn't have to go and ask. When they gave me cash money to pay for it, I gave all their money back. They had faith in me and I had faith in them. So I bought a lot of stuff. And they never questioned me and said, there's only one time he did question me.
Oh.
Yes, you did.
Oh.
And I bought Roundup, and it had the same name like Absorbol, which you throw for oil and everything. And Roundup at that time was $100 and something for this jug. And he was in the office. He says, Ronny, he says, can't we get this? And it was Absorbol Roundup. It had almost the same name. Can we get that someplace else a little bit cheaper? He thought I paid, $100 something for something you throw on the oil, which is only about $10, $12 a bag. And I says, no, Zig, that was Roundup. That's what I bought, But he did question me at that time. But he was calm. Like he didn't get excited and say, what do you think you're doing? He says, do you think we could get it a little cheaper somewhere else? But
And what happens when someone would charge you a higher price?
I went to a place one time and it was in our town here, and I was going to buy something, and I thought it was just way too much money. And the guy says to me, he says, and he knew your dad and everything. He says, he says, you're not paying for it. And that's when I told him, no, I'm not paying for it, but I work for that man, and if that was my money, I wouldn't want somebody to spend that for me. I just literally told him, no, I'm not going to do that. I work for this man. I'm not going to do that, whether it doesn't cost me a dime and charge him extra. I wouldn't do that, I just thought it was too much money, and I didn't go for it.
Yeah, and it's interesting the perspectives of saying, well, hey, I'm just working here, you're just working here, so why do we even care? But it's like, well, we just found out something different between us because I really see the long term of this company, and I see that in certain manufacturing plants where people will make decisions like it's their own plant, right? And they don't know how long they're going to be there, and people don't stay 40 years. But it's out there. It's out there today, and you guys saw that difference.
But I could see that in Ronny, that he had so much respect for us that I know if I tell him to do something and to fix and buy a part, I never have to tell him, well, are you going to try to get a better price? He already knows that that's who he is. He does the best for you and gets the best price,
I treated Zig's money like it was my money.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself in that spot. Are you going to pay that? And I wouldn't. Are you going to do that? I wouldn't. You just got to put yourself in his shoes. Are you going to do that? You do the best you can.
So what would you say to people that don't have that mindset? Right, they're working somewhere and they don't care.
Well, I've seen that a lot. When I left when Zig sold the park, and I still needed to work for a year. I went work for a manufacturing company, and it was a real eye opener for me. Like the lead hand, he was just pushy, and he'd pick on certain people, that he knew he could get away with. You're not working fast. How come it's taking you that long? And a lot of times those people were upset. Mm-hmm. And did you get a lot of good work out of those people? No. And this place that I worked for, I seen a lot of good people there. Because I had to work for about another year before I could actually retire, to say. And I was shocked, like from where I came from, that people care, and going to places like that, they didn't care about their employees at all. I mean, I've seen a lot of good people there that they left. And they didn't care if they left. They just hired somebody else.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of mistakes made because of people that they just didn't care. They worked there, they had their 8-9 hours in, and they went home. And the lead hand he was something else, but I had a little discussion with him there, and he was pretty good to me towards the end.
You had been around the block.
I have. I told him, I said, if I was to, where I came from, I said, if I was to treat those people, because I was really mad at him, like you treat these people, I said, we wouldn't have had nobody working for us.
No.
Yeah.
You got to have respect for people. I mean, the nicer you are, they're going to work a lot better.
Oh, yes.
And like I say, I did my best there. I mean, I always made sure I do good work because I did it for myself.
Yes. Yeah.
You do it for yourself. You don't want stuff to go out that's only half. It doesn't work or it doesn't do anything.
When you see certain plants that they're just focused on that, it makes so much sense. And then where the other ones are, I would ask that question, like, how many of these quality issues do you think somebody actually saw before it went out? And I'll get different answers sometimes at different plants. But yeah, the people didn't continue to come work with you too because the work was easy. It was really hard work.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of manufacturing work that's very hard work. But really, it has the same theme. If I'm cared for, I'm going to care back. But that's
right.
That's got to start at the top.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Well,
So
it is like the owners liked this lead hand people that they had because they thought they were getting work out of the people, push. But a lot of times it actually backfired, I mean.
So, Dad, did you have people sometimes that you hired that you put in leadership positions that would ever start to demonstrate that behavior, or maybe pushing the guys too much, and then you had to do an investigation and go out? Or
No, I can't remember anybody. Can
No.
you? That we had?
No,
So
we'd
why do you think
had
that is?
different people, and I think they were all. No, I don't think that was like that, really.
No, I cannot. No. Everybody that worked for us and either leader people, we never had anybody like Calvin. He was never
No.
Pushy with people or nothing.
Mm-mm.
So
why do you think that is?
Well, I think maybe it got rubbed off from me because I told him, I says, you got to make sure that you can't be mean at the people because they are not going to do their job like it is for themselves. Make them, you have to be good to them. And if there's a problem, ask them and then come to me. Yeah, so we can straighten that out. You got to have people that work for you. They got to be content and happy. And if they have a problem at home, we'll try to find out. Maybe they need to go home a half hour early, or maybe they have to take a day off or something, and they're scared to lose their job and all that kind of stuff. You have to listen a little bit. People have problems at home, and sometimes Margaret would listen to them. She was a good woman. She was quite something. I think my wife really played a big role.
Oh, she did.
In employees that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a teamwork.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, she was good to everybody. Yeah.
Man, I tell you, everybody, I don't think there's anybody that had a complaint about Margaret.
And it's good to have women in all industries, right? Because women sometimes have a different perspective and be able to connect with different people.
Well, if it wasn't because of Margaret, I would never be where I am today.
No,
she was a tremendous woman.
I'd have to agree with them there.
I remember over the years, because of labor is always difficult, sometimes you had people from Mexico staying here for long periods of time. I remember you had some refugees here as well. How did you get these different cultures to speaking of getting along? How did you get these cultures to get along?
Because we spoiled them.
Well, we had Spanish Mexicans here in the late 90s, and we were good to them. These were people we had 6 of them. We put the mobile home up there. They had a beautiful mobile home to live in. Zig and I gave them satellite dish. They had satellite dish.
The big satellite dish that was set towards Mexico.
And we had an old green truck here, and these people, because Zig and Margaret were so good to them, they were so good back that you didn't have to say nothing. They would go to work, take the truck, go and hoe, come back, you never had to do anything with them. Like, they knew what to do, and they were really good people. But we were really good to them, too. You get what you give, right? Really nice to them. They were really good to us. And we had them for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. They came back every year in the spring, and in the fall they'd go.
And you know what? We did spoil them because we took them in our car, and I made Mexican music CDs and dropped them off right there at the store and with our Mercedes. And boy, the people looked. They'd never seen that, because normally when foreign people like that, like Mexicans, the most of the farmers that hire them, they don't treat them that way. They have a bus, they drop them off, the heck with it, that's it. You know.
I love that, the CDs with the Mexican music playing. So just because you guys are Belgians, I mean, you got to, this is another lesson for us on this get along theory, is that what can you lean into on someone else's culture and make them feel comfortable?
Well, I know we put up that satellite dish, him and I, you know, and they were cooking. And they want us to stay. We had to stay there and eat. Wow. We ate something there, I'll tell you. And of course, the word aqua was water, right? Him and I took a bite and said, aqua.
We were burning
our mouth was on fire, and these guys were eating it like it was nothing, you know.
We wanted the water.
But they were really good to us, you know what I mean? Like, they wanted to do something for us, and because, you know, we helped them out, so they were quite the people, you know. It was pretty good.
I had to go and get them. They wanted to keep on working when it was lightning and thundering.
You had to get them out of the field.
Out of the field.
So nothing would happen to them, you know. You had to go get them.
I told them, I says, no,
can't do that.
Dangerous.
And they probably said, hey, these people care about us.
Right? That's right. And we never had a bit of problem with these people. You know, they did their work, and we treated them nice, and they were nice back to us, you know, so, which was nice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark and I, we went uptown and got new beds, new mattresses, and blankets, and dishes, and everything was clean. And boy, when Ryan and I had to go there for something, I don't know if the thing was plugged or something. Anyway, we had to take our shoes off to come in.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really good about it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But we had a lot of different people, you know.
I was talking to a plant manager in Indiana a couple weeks ago, and commercially they're not doing very well. And what the plant manager said is that, hey, I can control how we treat each other and our people and how we keep this place clean.
Yeah.
And we work on keeping the morale up. And we make what we can make and do what we can do within our control. And that's what we focus on, right? So I think that's kind of what I'm hearing here, is that another lesson is focus on what you can control, which is how you influence them, how you make them feel. Because how you make them feel, how you show up is how you make them feel. And then how you make them feel is how they're going to engage. So they're going to keep on hoeing, and they're going to, you can set them off on your own because you've built that trust. You didn't speak their language, you start to learn their language.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah.
And that's what helped it. And then you had an issue before with some refugees that you had here, that some of your other employees weren't treating them well, and then that caused conflict.
Well, it did. I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
And they were good workers. But some of the people that, not the regulars that we had here, but people that we hired on for the season, just kept aggravating them, you know. And all of a sudden they blew up, and they all left, and you couldn't tell them to come. They just, they just weren't nice to them. But I wasn't there.
Were those the people from Vietnam?
Yes.
Yeah, they were on the back of the truck with the regular
and
young
those
guys.
regular people just kept, I didn't know they were doing that. I had no idea because, I was in the building, right? And and they, those people really got upset.
Yeah.
The shovels were flying, and it's wonderful they didn't kill anybody, but
yeah, scary. I remember it was a scary situation.
It was, and then I don't know. I think the other people, we just got rid of them because you just couldn't have that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's an important lesson there, right? Is that how do you keep the pulse of your floor, and how do you, because here you have these refugee people have come in and are working hard, but when it's how you make them feel. Right? And at that point, you can't always be watching, but I guess it's if you have something and you see that there could be a problem, you, like you said in the beginning.
Well, you have to address it. right away. Then they left, and they wouldn't
So
stay.
we
and
laid those guys off.
laid those guys off, and you just couldn't have that, because you got different cultures of people.
I think that's so important that it doesn't matter if you're from the area or you look just like me. That doesn't matter. What matters is
That's
how we
right.
treat each other.
That's right.
That's exactly
That's
right.
what it is. And
Because we talk about diversity and inclusion, but really you guys were dealing with this in the 70s and the 80s.
Mhm.
And the fact of, hey, if you're going to work here at Blondeel Nursery, it is about how you treat people. It isn't where you're from. It isn't your language. And so you guys were practicing some of these things that we're trying to get back into our culture of like just be nice to each other. Get along.
no, that's what it
Yeah,
is.
we had a guy one time, and he was really I shouldn't say that word, but he was really a bad person. Okay, and when I told Margaret, I says, well, she says, well, lay him off, and that's what we did. Remember, there was a guy. He was a funny guy. Then he was bad words, and he was got a troublemaker.
Yeah. Well, we've had a few, and
And so you have to get rid of him right away. You can't have that.
And no matter how talented they are,
Yeah.
well, you can't have that.
you still got to do that.
I still today I have people come up and say, "Hi, Ronnie, how are you?" And I don't really know who they are, but they know me from 35, 40 years ago, and I always said for a joke to them, "Says, when you worked at that nursery, was I nice to you?" And they always say, "Yeah, you were." Okay, I just said no. I went to a wedding there of my niece there last year, and a guy came up and talked to me, and I didn't have a clue who he was, and then he told me who he was and when he worked here, and I had a great conversation with him, So sometimes you wonder, people you see 30, 35 years ago, they still remember you. Put a good impression for them.
Yeah, you treated him well.
I did.
Yeah.
I've had and a lot of these people that worked here were, after a bit, that were here all year round, they were your best friends.
Yeah. It's funny, the people that are listening to this podcast, probably most of them are working, probably a lot in manufacturing, not all. But it's the number one question, and I felt this myself, when you see someone that maybe worked with you a long time ago, and I've done the same thing, the number one thing you want to know is it's not, you don't want to talk about how many parts you made or what kind of trees you grew, or what did we actually get done. You want to know, was I nice to you?
Yeah.
That's what I always kind of ask them, and I haven't had anybody say no, you weren't. But hey, because like I say, I've seen over the years, hundreds of people come and go, hundreds.
Yeah.
And of course there's always bad in some, right? Some people you just cannot make them happy no matter what you do.
Yeah, and especially with an agriculture business, nursery or farm, whatever, is that in the springtime you need more people, and then it levels off during the summertime. And in the fall,
you got your regulars.
You get more people, and in the wintertime you got a lot less people. So you have a whole roll of rollover of people all the time. Different people, because people, they get older, they go to a different job.
So how do you manage to kind of keep bringing in those people that are still treating each other the way that you expect?
Well, we just go to, we left a notice at the unemployment insurance, then they see it can tell me could do that, but that's all changed, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Things have changed a lot now.
But that must have been the challenge, was when you did hire people, that I guess because you weren't doing any HR assessments, you were just interviewing them and then seeing if they were a good person. And when would you not hire someone? How would you know not to hire someone?
Well, I guess depending what he was telling us or she was telling us, because we had women too. It doesn't take, you can see it on the application right away if you're going to have a problem or not. The application is a very
And you could probably see it with the way he acts too.
And then the way
he comes, he acts, and he's really
Yeah.
mean type, and then you could have some trouble, and that's not what you want.
You're looking for humility.
And then our other employees would say, that new guy you hired, I don't know about it.
Yeah.
Because they are doing their work, and they want to make sure that the new guy is going to do a good job too. Because then they say, well, Zig thinks maybe I did that role. For example, if it was hoeing, for example. Yeah. So people stuck together, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you don't address it, then that becomes an
Oh,
issue.
yeah, and you can't leave it. You got to do it right away, because we had some. Margaret says, "Well, I don't want this guy around." She heard him with F here and F there, so.
Yeah, you can't have that.
And
you know.
I says, "Well, I'm sorry."
I
you
mean, we
gotta
all
go."
swear sometimes in a joking type way, but not directly to somebody, you know.
And with a mean voice and stuff like that.
So, as we wrap this up, so Ronny, what's your one thing for the listeners that you would leave them with? How do you get along with someone that you're working with? What's the one secret that if you had to leave, and this is the last word, and this is only what people could hear, what would you say?
You had to get along with everybody. You got to get along with people. You know, if they like you, if you like them, they'll like you.
And I think.
And that's the way it has to be, you know. I mean,
And carrying a grudge.
you know,
He never
nobody's
did.
nobody's perfect, right? We all make mistakes, but you got to look beyond that. Yeah, he's not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect, but you know what?
That's right. He's
We
right.
still joke, and you know, and when you have fun with somebody, time goes so much quicker. You know, and things are so much better. You go home happy,
And you're going
right?
to perform
If you don't
better.
like your job, and you're upset with people that are working there, when you go home, you know what? That you carry that with you. You know, you could be grumpy at home, but when you come,
And you know why also? I put up a huge speaker towards the field
yeah.
so people could listen to music and calm
Yeah.
them down. That's
Calm
what we
them
did.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
That's
this speaker,
how
you
you
hear
keep
this thing
your
for miles, and
happy.
people were happy, you know,
Yeah.
music out there, and
In the field.
yeah, you got to keep people, you know,
Yeah. I thought,
happy if
maybe
want,
that would spur
if you want
more on.
production, you got to keep them happy.
The next time they're working faster because it's rock and roll music.
That's right.
You know, they're hoeing quicker, or they're planting quicker, or you know.
It's
They thought I was nuts. And I probably was at that time.
well, yeah, but you got to do things like that, and
You and I did a
people-
lot of
yeah,
different
people have
things.
a lot,
Holy mackerel.
you know, better respect for you, you know, if you help them out and see that you're there and joke with them, you know what I mean, instead of being dead serious.
I bet you never told me that. You told your wife, say, I think Zig is losing it. You know, he's doing these things.
Actually, when I came home, I actually never said much about it. If I had a bad day, I never talked about it. I left my work
Yeah.
at my work.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
bring it home, and,
Yeah.
because say if I was upset with Zig for the day, I didn't take it out on my wife. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you just left it there, and you know, things get better.
So I take a few things away. Obviously, just that whole to get along, it really comes down to kind of how you treat people, and whether
It
they're
is.
Oh,
boss
that's-
or
That
oh,
makes
yes.
all the
Yeah.
difference in the world.
And have respect for that person,
That's
no
right.
matter who he or she is.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, she's a human being, he's a human being. Maybe there's only that much you're going to be able to get out of that person, but it's still a human being, and to still have the respect for them.
I've learned even just today talking to you guys, because it makes sense, because I've never really felt that prejudice feeling, and it's like I grew up with you guys having all different types of nationalities here, and we had
Yeah.
to all get along. And
Oh, yeah.
different people bring different things.
You know, we had quite a few Datsun trucks here, eh? And it's
did.
too bad we didn't have them today, but there
So
was,
I
I think,
learned-
3 of them. And a lot of these German Mennonites would come here that Zig would hire, you know, couldn't speak hardly any English, couldn't drive. But when the season was over, they were able to go get their license. They demonstrated on those Datsun trucks. And we even had one roll in the field. We had one smashed up, but you know what?
I can remember.
Zig didn't fire him, you know what I mean?
I
What are
was
you
sitting
going
in
to
the back
do?
office there, and I see the guy coming there with blood all over his
Yeah.
face. They had rolled the pickup. They had 3 guys in front of the pickup. They
Yeah.
had rolled it. They had to go and get a load of trees. Oh, was I
So-
mad?
He was mad, but
But I didn't fire him.
he didn't fire him.
Yeah.
What are you going to
But
do?
it was a lesson
Yeah.
for them, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. I seen a lot of people come here with no license, and by the time they were done, they left with they had license. They had a lot of practice, you know, and
That's another good one. Hey, people are going to make mistakes.
They are.
Oh,
And,
hey.
They are going to make
But you
mistakes.
gave them opportunities to learn how to drive. I was with Andre in the field, and he said, you got to drive back. It was a stick shift, and I didn't even know how to drive.
No.
And that's how, other than the tractors.
Yeah, otherwise you
that's
can't learn. If you don't let, if you just don't let people try anything, they won't be able to do anything.
No.
You got to have some faith in them and say, okay, he's going to be able to do it.
I like the advice on take a pause. And I also like just the relationship between you two, and you respect each other's experiences and the autonomy, right? And just trust and let people do their thing. So, yeah, thanks for coming on the show, sharing all this.
Oh, you're
a few
welcome.
laughs.
You're welcome.
And, and I, both of you were, two of my hugest mentors, right? Because when you were busy in the office, there was many times that that's how I learned how to maintain my dirt bike was through you, Ronny. Or
Yeah, I
sometimes
remember.
different projects and
We did a lot of different things. I can remember building the racetrack out there for you in that pasture field.
That whole field.
With that bulldozer, I made ramps.
Yeah. So you could go in the air.
And those were all good, fun things. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have to do that, but I wanted to do that. You know what I mean? And
we did a lot of great things.
we did. I helped you with some school projects where your dad didn't have the time. And,
we all had great influences on each other, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what manufacturing needs to continue to.
And those are
thrive
things
on.
you never forget, right? It's burned into your memory, and those are all good times. Like, your dad and I, we could probably write a book of the things that we've done here. And, getting mobile homes from where was it, by Chatham, him and I. I mean, the things that we've done together, but we stuck together. Like, we were like brothers and partners, and and I had to look after him sometimes. I did have to. I had to say, Zig, maybe we shouldn't, because he was a little more risk taker than I was, and I would say, I don't know if we should do that or not.
Yes, he gave me a lot of good ideas.
I always
because
said
I would
to
have made
him,
mistakes.
I says, Zig, this is what I told him a lot. I says, you and I, this is like Rome. I says, you're Caesar. But Caesar had an advisor.
Yeah.
Right? And he would say, Caesar, do you think we should feed those guys to the lions? I had to give him advice constantly. And by giving him advice, he could either say, okay, we're going to do that. Or we're going to say, no, we're not going to do that. Yeah. But I give him advice all the time. And I always joked about him, you're Caesar, but I'm going to advise.
Yeah, but that's true, though. He
and
gave
it
me
is.
a lot of
I
advice.
get advice. You know what I'm saying? If I didn't think it was right, because I didn't want anything to happen to him, I didn't want anything to happen to me.
Yeah.
So we take care of each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's respect for people.
It's a partnership in a sense,
It is.
That's how you get along.
Yeah.
And that's how we get along. And we still get along today. I still come and help him here when he calls me. Just has to...
Which is great,
I told him, keep me on speed dial.
All right. Well, now you may not have the book, but we got a heck of a great podcast. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Hey folks, appreciate you taking the time to join us today. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone. Haven't subscribed yet? Do it now. Remember, if you want results, the key is increasing your awareness of how you show up.